Have you ever noticed that no matter what you achieve, no matter what you gain, the feeling of satisfaction fades almost as quickly as it arrives? The promotion you work years for suddenly feels ordinary after a few months. The new phone that once made you smile now feels outdated. Even relationships, when new, fill us with excitement. But with time, the thrill wears off, replaced by craving for something more. This restless hunger is not just your problem. It is not just a modern issue. It is a timeless condition of being human. More than 2,500 years ago, Siddhartha Gautama, the man we now call the Buddha, observed this truth directly. He saw kings surrounded by wealth who still felt empty, and monks who abandoned everything yet still longed for recognition. He saw that the human mind was like a fire, always burning, always needing more fuel. And so, he asked the question that sits at the heart of today's video. Why are we never truly satisfied? Why does desire keep us running, but never allow us to rest? The Buddha's Awakening. When Siddhartha left his palace, he wasn't just searching for peace. He was searching for freedom from this endless craving. He saw life as a wheel, spinning endlessly, powered by desire. No matter what pleasures people grasped, they slipped away like water through the fingers. And then, beneath the Bodhi tree, after years of meditation and struggle, Buddha experienced what he called Nirvana. Not a heaven, not an escape into nothingness, but the extinguishing of the fire of craving. From this awakening came the first noble truth. Life is marked by suffering, dukkha. But here's the critical part. Suffering doesn't just mean pain or sadness. It also means the gnawing unsatisfactoriness that even joy leaves behind. You can laugh with friends, eat a feast, fall in love, but eventually, the high fades. You're left chasing the next hit of pleasure. This cycle is what Buddha called tanha, often translated as craving or thirst. What is desire really? It's important to clarify. Buddha did not condemn every form of desire. He distinguished between wholesome aspirations, like the desire to grow, to learn, to help others, and the kind of blind craving that traps us. The kind of desire Buddha warned against has three main faces. Desire for pleasure, chasing sensory delights, food, sex, luxury, entertainment. Desire for becoming, chasing identity, status, achievement, wanting to be someone. Desire for non-becoming, craving escape, wishing to not feel pain, to not exist, to numb ourselves. And in each case, the trap is the same. We think the next achievement, the next possession, the next relationship will finally give us peace. But as soon as we get it, the satisfaction dissolves. We set our eyes on something new. Like a mirage in the desert, fulfillment always appears just ahead, never here. Why you're never satisfied. Think of your life like a treadmill. You run, you sweat, you exhaust yourself, and yet you remain in the same place. This is the illusion of desire. Modern science now echoes Buddha's insight. Psychologists call it the hedonic treadmill. Studies show that when people win the lottery, within a year their happiness levels return almost exactly to where they were before. Likewise, those who suffer tragedies often return to their baseline after time. Our minds adapt, and the craving begins again. This is why no matter how much you own, no matter how much you accomplish, you will always feel that haunting whisper. Is this all there is? Buddha saw that whisper clearly, and his teaching on desire is not meant to shame us, it's meant to wake us up. Because once we recognize the nature of this endless thirst, we are ready to explore its roots and discover how to be free from it. In part 1, we discovered that desire is like fire. It burns brightly, but it never says enough. Now, let's go deeper into the question. Why does desire cause so much suffering? Why can't it deliver on its promise of happiness? 1. The illusion of permanence. At the root of desire lies a subtle but powerful misunderstanding. We cling to pleasures, people, and achievements as if they will last forever. But life, as Buddha observed, is impermanent, anicca. The food you savor is gone in minutes. The praise you receive fades with the next criticism. The youth you treasure inevitably gives way to age. Desire sets us up for heartbreak because it attaches us to things that by nature cannot stay. It's like trying to hold on to smoke with your hands. The tighter you grasp, the more it slips away. Buddha compared this to clutching a burning torch. The tighter you hold, the more you suffer. 2. The ego's hunger. Another reason desire makes us suffer is because it feeds the ego. When we crave success, recognition, or power, it's not just about the thing itself. It's about what it says about me. I want wealth, not just to live comfortably, but to prove I'm better than others. I want love, not just to share joy, but to validate my worth. I want victory, not just to win, but to strengthen my identity. But the ego is like a bottomless pit. No matter how much you pour into it, it always whispers, more. Even emperors who conquered nations desired more lands, more titles, more monuments to their name. Buddha's insight was radical. The more you build your ego through desire, the more fragile and anxious you become. Because ego is built on something that doesn't exist in a permanent way. 3. Desire creates fear and anxiety. Imagine clinging tightly to a glass of water in the desert. The more you need it, the more terrified you become of losing it. This is the psychological trap of desire. If you crave love, you fear rejection. If you crave wealth, you fear loss. If you crave fame, you fear being forgotten. Desire ties your peace of mind to forces you cannot control. You no longer simply enjoy what you have, you live in constant fear of losing it. The modern world magnifies this anxiety. Social media thrives on desire. Desire for likes, for attention, for validation. Each notification is a hit of dopamine, but also a seed of fear. What if no one notices me next time? What if no one notices me next time? 4. Desire leads to comparison and envy. Buddha also observed that desire traps us in comparison. When you want what others have, you begin to resent them. When you get what others don't, you fear their envy. A new car may give you joy until your neighbor drives a newer one. A promotion feels sweet until a colleague outranks you. Desire is always relative. It measures happiness not by what you truly need, but by where you stand against others. This constant comparison keeps you restless, never at peace. 5. Desire never ends. The treadmill effect. Even when desires are fulfilled, the satisfaction is fleeting. This is what modern psychology calls the hedonic treadmill. You adapt quickly to new pleasures, and soon you need more just to feel the same level of happiness. The first bite of cake is delicious. The 10th feels heavy. The first compliment lights up your day. The 100th barely registers. The first $1,000 feels powerful. The 1,000,000th leaves you wanting too. Buddha warned, desire is like drinking salt water. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. A modern mirror of Buddha's insight. Today, consumer culture thrives on this principle. Advertisements. You'll be happy when you have this. But the moment you buy, the goalposts move. The new model arrives. The better version is released. The influencer flaunts something shinier. In this way, society turns desire into an engine of suffering, a wheel that never stops spinning. The cycle of desire, frustration, desire again. Let's put it together. Why does desire cause suffering? It attaches us to impermanent things. It feeds the fragile ego. It creates fear of loss and anxiety. It fuels endless comparison and envy. It keeps us running on the treadmill of dissatisfaction. Buddha saw this cycle clearly. Desire creates temporary pleasure. Pleasure fades. Frustration arises. Desire for something new. And around we go. Story: The King and the Ring. There's an old parable from Buddhist tradition. A king once asked his wise men for a ring that would make him happy when he was sad, and sad when he was happy. They returned with a simple band inscribed with the words, "This too shall pass." The lesson is the same. Joy and sorrow are temporary, like clouds in the sky. When you base your happiness on grasping them, you are guaranteed suffering. The deeper truth. Buddha's teaching is not about rejecting life's joys. It's about seeing clearly. Every desire contains within it the seed of suffering, because it clings to what cannot be held. When you understand this, you begin to loosen your grip. You start to enjoy life's pleasures without being enslaved by them. You eat the cake, but don't expect eternal bliss from it. You love someone deeply, but accept that change and loss are part of the journey. And this understanding sets the stage for the next great question. If desire is the root of suffering, is there a way to end it? Is there a path to freedom? This leads us directly into Buddha's teaching on Nirvana, the end of suffering, the stillness beyond craving. We've seen how desire fuels suffering, a cycle of craving, pleasure, frustration, and craving again. But Buddha did not stop at diagnosis. He offered a cure. And that cure is the heart of his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Nirvana. What is Nirvana? The word Nirvana literally means to blow out, like extinguishing the flame of a candle. But it is not about extinguishing life, nor about falling into emptiness. It is about extinguishing the fire of craving that keeps the wheel of suffering spinning. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack all your life, filled with stones. You've grown so used to the weight that you hardly notice it. But one day you set it down. That sudden lightness, that relief. This is Nirvana. Nirvana is not a reward, not a heaven in the sky, but a state of freedom here and now. Freedom from the chains of endless wanting. Freedom from the anxiety of losing what you cling to. Freedom from the illusions of permanence and ego. The psychological freedom of Nirvana. To understand Nirvana, let's put it in modern psychological terms. When desire rules you, your mind is like a monkey, always jumping from branch to branch, chasing what it doesn't have, fearing what it might lose. Nirvana is the moment the monkey sits still. It's not that life's pleasures vanish, but that your relationship with them changes. You can enjoy a delicious meal, but you don't obsess over getting it again. You can love someone deeply, but you don't build your entire identity on possessing them. You can succeed at work, but you don't collapse if recognition fades. In Nirvana, the pleasures of life become like passing breezes, felt, enjoyed, but not clung to. Nirvana as the end of illusion. Buddha taught that much of our suffering comes from mistaking illusions for reality. We believe things are permanent when they are not. We believe the ego is solid when it is not. We believe desire will bring lasting happiness when it cannot. Nirvana is not the creation of something new. It is the awakening to what has always been true, that clinging to illusions is the source of suffering. When the fire of illusion dies out, what remains is peace. The experience of Nirvana. Words can only point toward Nirvana. They cannot capture it fully. But Buddhist texts describe it with phrases like the unshakable freedom of the heart, the island beyond the flood, the deathless. Some monks compared it to waking from a dream. For years you've been chasing phantoms, suffering from nightmares. Then suddenly you wake up. The fear vanishes, not because the world changed, but because you saw it clearly. Common misunderstandings. It's important to clarify. Nirvana is not about rejecting joy or living in cold detachment. It's not about becoming a stone or escaping into another world. Buddha himself enjoyed the beauty of nature, the company of friends, and the peace of meditation. The difference was that he saw them as gifts, not possessions. He enjoyed them without clinging. Think of a musician who plays a song. She pours her heart into the performance. But when the last note fades, she smiles and lets it go. She does not demand that it last forever. That attitude, complete engagement without clinging, is nirvana in daily life. The end of the fire. Buddha often used the image of fire to describe desire. Fire consumes everything in its path. It grows, it spreads, it leaves ashes. But when the fire burns out, what remains is stillness. That stillness is not boring, it is profound. It is the peace of a mind that no longer burns for what it doesn't have. Modern psychology sometimes calls this equanimity, the ability to stay steady, calm, and joyful, regardless of external ups and downs. In Buddhist language, this is the taste of nirvana. Why nirvana matters today. In our modern world of constant advertising, consumerism, and social media, the fire of desire burns hotter than ever. We are told every day that happiness lies in the next product, the next trip, the next achievement. But if Buddha's teaching is right, and modern psychology agrees, then the more we chase, the more restless we become. Nirvana is the reminder that freedom lies not in multiplying desires, but in letting them go. That peace is not hidden in tomorrow's achievement, but available here and now, in the stillness of the present moment. Story: The Cool Shade. There is a Buddhist parable of a traveler crossing a desert. There is a Buddhist parable of a traveler crossing a desert. The sun blazes, the heat burns, and the man grows desperate for water. Finally, he finds a tree. Beneath it is shade, cool and still. He sits, breathes, and feels relief flood through him. The desert is desire. The tree is nirvana. The traveler didn't have to find a magical land. He only had to sit down, stop running, and rest. So now we see, the end of desire is possible. Nirvana is not a myth, not a faraway dream. It is the freedom available when we stop feeding the flames. But Buddha did not leave us with only an ideal. He offered a practical method to walk this path, a guide for ordinary people like us to move from craving to freedom. That guide is the Noble Eightfold Path, a roadmap to end suffering, not just in theory, but in daily practice. And that's where we turn next. We have now traced the arc of Buddha's insight. Life hurts because suffering is woven into existence. The cause is desire, endless craving, clinging, and illusions. The cure is nirvana, freedom from craving, peace beyond fire. But Buddha was never content with philosophy alone. He was a practical teacher. His question was not, what is truth in the abstract, but what can we do here and now to be free? And so he gave us the Noble Eightfold Path, a step-by-step guide to living a life that cuts the root of suffering and grows the seed of awakening. The Noble Eightfold Path, a roadmap to liberation. The path is like a wheel with 8 spokes, each supporting the other. To walk it is not to follow rigid commandments, but to cultivate a way of being. A middle path between indulgence and denial, chaos and rigidity. The 8 steps fall into 3 broad categories: wisdom, ethics, and meditation. Let us explore them one by one. 1. Right view, wisdom. The journey begins with seeing clearly. Right view means understanding the 4 noble truths: that life has suffering, that suffering has a cause, that it can end, and that the path leads there. This is not blind belief. It's like putting on glasses after years of blurry vision. Suddenly, patterns become clear. Ah, I suffer not because life hates me, but because of clinging. Modern psychology would call this a shift of perspective. To heal, we must first understand the disease. 2. Right intention, wisdom. Once we see clearly, we must ask, what do I intend to do with this insight? Right intention means aligning our heart with 3 aims. Renunciation, letting go instead of clinging. Goodwill, wishing well for others rather than harboring ill will. Compassion, choosing not to harm but to help. Think of intention as the steering wheel of life. Where the mind inclines, the whole person follows. 3. Right speech, ethics. Words are powerful. They can heal or harm, unite or divide. Right speech means speaking truthfully, kindly, and purposefully. The Buddha advised, before speaking, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If not, perhaps silence is better. In an age of social media, where words spread like wildfire, this teaching feels more urgent than ever. 4. Right action, ethics. Right action is about living in a way that does not fuel suffering, in ourselves or others. It means refraining from harm, from stealing, from exploiting others. But it's not just about what not to do. It's about creating harmony through kindness, generosity, and integrity. Imagine a world where people lived by right action. How many wars, betrayals, and heartbreaks would dissolve? 5. Right livelihood, Ethics. Our work shapes our lives, not just our income. Buddha taught that livelihood should not cause harm. No dealing in weapons, slavery, killing, or deceit. The spirit of this teaching is timeless. Work in a way that uplifts, not destroys. Earn a living without selling your soul. Right livelihood today could mean choosing careers that respect people, animals, and the planet. A radical act in a world driven by profit. 6. Right effort. Meditation. The mind is like a garden. Weeds of anger, greed, and delusion grow easily. Right effort means cultivating the garden wisely, preventing weeds from arising, pulling out weeds already present, planting wholesome seeds like compassion, patience, and mindfulness, nurturing those seeds until they flower. It's not about striving endlessly. It's about steady, joyful discipline. A gentle gardener, not a frantic laborer. 7. Right mindfulness. Meditation. This is perhaps the most famous teaching today. Right mindfulness means being fully present, seeing things as they are without distortion. It is the opposite of living on autopilot. Instead of drowning in regrets of the past or fears of the future, mindfulness anchors us in the now, in the breath, in sensations, in thoughts observed but not clung to. Mindfulness is a mirror. It shows us our desires, fears, and illusions, not to judge them, but to understand and let them go. 8. Right concentration. Meditation. Finally, right concentration is the deep stillness cultivated in meditation. When the mind is steady, focused, and free from distraction, it can penetrate reality deeply. This is not escape. It is clarity. The way muddy water clears when left undisturbed. In concentration, the truth of impermanence, non-self, and peace becomes vivid. The middle way together. These 8 steps form the middle way, avoiding both self-indulgence and self-denial. Buddha himself tried both extremes. As a prince, he drowned in luxury and found no peace. As an ascetic, he starved his body and tortured his mind, and still found no peace. The path is the middle, balanced, humane, sustainable. It is a way of living in harmony with truth, compassion, and awareness. Bringing the path into modern life. Some may wonder, is this path only for monks in robes meditating in forests? The answer is no. The path was designed for all human beings. A parent practicing patience with a child is walking the path. A teacher speaking with kindness is walking the path. A worker choosing honesty over deceit is walking the path. A person pausing to breathe mindfully before reacting is walking the path. Every small act of awareness, kindness, and letting go is a step toward freedom. The journey, not the destination. The Eightfold Path is not a race. It is not about perfection, but about progress. Even one step taken sincerely brings relief. Even partial practice weakens desire's grip. And as the mind grows clearer, lighter, freer, we begin to taste, here and now, the peace Buddha promised. Closing vision. Picture this. A fire once raging, now gone cold. A river once storming, now calm and clear. A heart once restless, now steady and open. This is the promise of the path. This is Buddha's invitation, not to escape life, but to live it fully, without the chains of craving. And so, the Noble Eightfold Path does not end suffering in theory. It ends suffering in practice.